Hey everybody, I'm Tasha from the Major Change Group, and today I want to talk about, have you been denied for a Navy Federal credit card, or have you been approved for a low limit? In this video, I want to talk about the Navy Federal internal score because I had recently got a question about being denied for the Navy Federal Flagship and being approved for the cash rewards card. And so they were asking when should they apply for the Navy Federal Flagship. So when I responded, I was stating that, possibly you might want to wait maybe like 3 billing cycles. But the thing is, you really want to increase your Navy Federal internal score. So I thought, it's been a while since I had talked about the Navy Federal internal score, so let's get into it. So recently I had got this comment stating that they did not get approved for the Navy Federal Flagship, but they did get approved for the Navy Federal Cash Rewards, and they think that they will wait to apply for the Flagship after a month or so. And I'll tell you, when I had originally applied for the Navy Federal Flagship, y'all, I thought I was just going to get approved for this high credit limit because usually I would get approved for, pretty good limits. And y'all, when I had applied, I did not even get approved for $7,000. So I'm just like, oh my goodness. But the thing is, when you apply, in my opinion, for any credit card, do you want to just be approved? Let's say if you're trying to get a bonus, or do you want to be approved for a high credit limit? And I think that's different, because let me know in the comments. Sometimes it seems like when I apply for a lot of credit cards around the same time, maybe I don't get high credit limits, opposed to when I wait a while to apply for a credit card, I'll usually get a higher limit. Because this year when I had applied for the Hilton Honor Surpass and I had applied for the City Platinum card, maybe like 2 minutes apart, I had only got approved for $4,000 pretty much for each credit card. But I'm like, dang, I only got approved for $4,000. But I was really chasing the offers at that time. But in this case, with the Navy Federal credit cards, to be able to apply for the Navy Federal Flagship, you really have to have a strong credit profile. So Navy Federal has their own Navy Federal internal score. Now, I will say this, it's really hard to get your Navy Federal internal score, because just because you apply, it doesn't mean that you're going to automatically get your Navy Federal score. And it took me probably, when I had got the Navy Federal Cash Reward, so I had already got 3 credit cards before I had got my internal score. But the thing is, by the time I had applied for the Navy Federal More Rewards, I had got approved for $25,000. Now, when we're talking about the Navy Federal internal score, it ranges from a 100 to a 450. So the higher your internal score, I believe the better interest rates that you can get, the higher credit lines you'll get, and then you'll be able to get approved for different things. So I was researching a little bit more, and here are some of the factors that I found for your Navy Federal internal score. So the first thing is going to be your member behavior. How often do you use your Navy Federal accounts, and how long have you had a relationship with Navy Federal? And I would say that this is the number one factor in your internal score. In my opinion, I would say that the member behavior is number one for the Navy Federal internal score. Only my opinion, because I can say when I had originally joined Navy Federal, I said that I wasn't going to apply for a credit card immediately. And y'all, probably within a month, I had applied, and I had applied for the Navy Federal Flagship. But then also within that time, I had applied probably for 2 other credit cards. And so when I applied for the Navy Federal Flagship, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get approved for $25,000, blah, 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 because my credit score is pretty good and all that kind of stuff. And y'all, when I applied, I had only got approved for not even $7,000. But see, this is the thing. When I had applied, I had a checking account and a savings account. But y'all, I was not even putting no money in any of those accounts. So really, when I think about it, my membership behavior probably was not really that good, because I really was not building a relationship with Navy Federal, because I wasn't doing direct deposit. I wasn't depositing any money in my checking and savings account. So what was I really thinking? But the thing is, at least I did get approved for the Flagship, but I got a lower credit limit when I thought that I would get a high credit limit. The next factor is recent activity. Have you applied for any new credit cards, any new loans, and have you gotten a lot of inquiries on your credit? And I would say for me, this is very true because when I had applied for the Navy Federal Flagship, I had applied for 2 other credit cards around that time. So most of the time, I think with any bank or credit union, when they pull your credit report and they see that you have applied for a lot of new credit, most of the time they're not going to want to really approve or give high limits, some of the time, because it's just like they're saying, well, why are you applying for a lot of new credit cards around that time? So possibly if you are considering opening up a credit card, especially if it's one that you really, really want and you want a high limit, I would possibly say, maybe just do some gardening around that time so that you can make sure that you have a high probability of getting approved and getting a high credit limit. And then additionally, credit history. And credit history is very important. And, with our credit score, we have our payment history, our credit utilization, our new credit, our credit mix. And as you see, even with our credit inquiry. So it's very important for us to pull our credit and see how our credit report is looking. If you are trying to improve your Navy Federal internal score, I would say first and foremost, you always want to make sure that you're paying your bills on time. That means your loans, credit cards, or any other Navy Federal related debt. And because especially they can see how you're paying your bills and things like that because you have other accounts with them. So you just want to make sure that you're doing that. Also, use your other accounts regularly. And see, I would say when I first joined, I wasn't using any of my accounts. Even though I had them open, I wasn't doing direct deposit. I wasn't, putting any money in there. And so that's just really bad. That's not creating a relationship. Next, you really want to maintain your credit utilization. I would say on your Navy Federal cards and on your other credit cards, because if you have high utilization, most of the time, credit card companies, banks, or credit unions are not going to really want to extend you more credit because your credit worthiness is not going to look as good because you have high credit utilization. And then next, you want to establish a long relationship. The longer that you've been with Navy Federal and you have a good history, you're better your internal score. And so for myself, I was not even with Navy Federal a month. And then here I go applying for the top credit card, the Navy Federal Flagship, and I'm not depositing any money. It's like, I'm surprised that I had even got approved, So I would state if you are just joining Navy Federal, one, you want to make sure that you're paying your bills on time, and then you're keeping your accounts in good standings. And I think that those are going to be some tips to increase your internal score. I would say overall, the main thing is, especially when you are first joining Navy Federal, I would always kind of maybe wait because I feel like that's what I kind of did wrong when I first joined Navy Federal. I was in such a hurry to apply for a credit card that I really didn't build that relationship with Navy Federal. But since I had been with Navy Federal since 2019 and I've been talking about the Navy Federal credit cards, a lot of people make comments stating that they'll wait, 3 months or a little bit longer before they apply. And I'm telling you, most of the time when they do that, they usually get approved for the high credit limits, even 25,000. So I think that that's really cool because in my mind, you really want to build that relationship. So let me know in the comments if you thought that this was helpful. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend, and turn your notification bell on so you'll be notified when new content drops. I thank you so much for watching. Until next time. It's not a game.